Good morning, everyone. My name is Shana Horton. I serve as the rules attorney for the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission. Today is August 22nd, 2022. The time is 10 a.m. and we are here for a public hearing on rules that were recently published in the Texas Register. And as always, we will do this in two parts. The first part will be an informal question and answer session, or you can make informal comments if you'd like. Those will not be in the record, just an opportunity to have some discussion if you have any remaining questions about these rules. And then after that, I will open up the formal part of the hearing, at which time I will not be able to respond to your comments. I instead will respond to them in writing later. And you can make your comments either orally, or if you prefer, you're always welcome to send them by email to rules@tabc.texas.gov. And any formal comments will be responded to in writing in the Texas Register in a coming edition. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and start with item 1, reporting permit or license changes and the repeal of 4148 changes relating to control. The purpose of this was to repeal portions of 4148 that are basically obsolete due to the new Ames reporting system, and just simply clean up those two sections to make them less confusing, essentially, and combine them into one. Does anyone have questions about item 1 or comments that you'd like to make in this informal period? And if you want to speak, just unmute yourself, state your name for the record, and make your comments. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. Item number 2, 3378, there's an amendment that really just codifies longstanding agency practice. And I wouldn't expect that there would be any questions or concerns about that, but if there are, now is the time to raise your hand. Any questions or comments on item 2, nonprofit entity temporary events? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands, so we'll go to item 3, 3381, purchase of alcoholic beverages for a temporary event. This simply aligns the rules for mixed beverages and wine and beer for where they can be purchased for a temporary event. Does anyone have any questions or comments, informal, regarding item 3? Rule 33.81. Okay, seeing none. Item 4, amended Rule 45.117, gifts and advertising specialties. This amendment brings the rule in line with the rule for malt beverages, the rule for liquor with the rule for malt beverages. And essentially allows those signs to have a greater value than under the previous rule. Are there any questions about proposed amended Rule 45.117? Again, if you're just joining, all you have to do if you want to make a comment or ask a question is unmute yourself and state your name and who you represent and make your comment or ask your question. Okay, and finally, new Rule 35.1, reporting a breach of the peace, and repeal of the current reporting breach of the peace rule, which is at 3532. Are there any informal comments on this proposed rule or questions? Okay. Seeing none, it looks like I don't see any hands raised. All right, last call. Any comments or questions for this informal discussion on any of the items 1 through 5? Okay. In that case, I will now open the public hearing. It is August 22nd, 2022. It is 10:06 a.m. This is a public hearing of the TABC. And rather than going through each item, I will just open it. Well, I will go through each item. Item 1, amended Rule 3394 and the repeal of 4148, changes relating to control. If anyone has formal comments to make on the record, please unmute yourself, state your name, and make your comments. Remember that I will not be able to respond right now, but I will respond later in writing. Item 1. Looks like no takers on item 1. We'll move on to item 2, amended Rule 3378, nonprofit entity temporary events. Are there any formal comments on item 2? Very good. Seeing none, move on to item 3. Item 3 is new Rule 33.81, purchase of alcoholic beverages for a temporary event. Are there any formal comments on item 3? Okay. No raised hands. We'll move on to item 4. Amended Rule 45.117, gifts and advertising specialties. Are there any formal comments on item 4? Okay. Finally, item 5, new Rule 35.1, reporting a breach of the peace, and repeal of Rule 35.32, also reporting a breach of the peace. Are there any formal comments on item 5?
Hi, Shana. It's Edgar from Griffith and Hughes. I have just a couple of comments on that one. First, I'm looking at subsection I. It says a license or permit holder may not be held administratively liable for failing to report or failing to file a timely report under this section if the alleged breach of the peace occurred. Section 1 did not occur on the license or permit holder's premises, and 2 occurred at a time that the license or permit holder's license premises was closed to the public. I'm curious whether this is a typo or not. Obviously, there's no liability if it did not occur on the licensed premises, so maybe the intent was to be or the disjunctive instead of the conjunctive, so just point that out. The other, this has been echoed before at prior meetings, but I think it would be helpful if the commission had added an additional explanation what licensed premises is. Well, I understand there is 1149, which determines or explains to some degree what a premises is. It doesn't go as far as explaining what is under the control, whether it's direct or indirect control. It's obvious if it is a situation of what happens inside the premises, but it is less obvious when it is happening outside of the premises, particularly there's shared parking lots or other businesses in the area. And with all due respect to the commission, I know the position is, well, this is defined in case law. I respectfully disagree. And I would ask that the commission actually cite those cases and write those rules in conformance with those cases. With that said, I have nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, Edgar, if you could let me know if the comments that you have previously filed in writing, if you want those to be considered formal comments, I'd appreciate it. Just shoot me an email. Are there any other formal comments on item 5? Reporting a breach of the peace. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised. Last call for formal comments in this public hearing on any of the rule items under consideration, items 1 through 5. Any additional formal comments at this time? Okay. Again, as always, you may email your comments to me at rules@tabc.texas.gov. Formal public comments will be responded to in writing in the Texas Register. And with that, I will close this public hearing of the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission at 10:11 a.m. Thank you for coming today.